So the next person that I'm talking to, I come across at the Liverpool Awards, all with Downtown in Business. I'm sure the Downtown team won't mind that we've robbed the guest, the spokesperson that was talking. His name is Paul Cheetham. He's bringing something brand new to Liverpool to exchange flags, and it's an accountancy firm, but it's an accountancy firm with a big difference. They're called Sedulo. Paul, tell us what Sedulo is, first of all, for anyone that doesn't know. What is it you do?
Yeah, so part of what we do is accountancy, and I'm an accountant, so that's what we set up as. But effectively, what we do is we work with businesses and the individuals, the business owners, and we effectively have a plethora of services for everything. So whether that's your general accounting or your research and development grants, which you might touch on in a little bit in your industry in particular, or you want to sell your business, or you want to roll your business out into different territories. We advise on all that. We advise private equity. We did the Roxy Ballroom deal. You guys have got, I think you've got a couple of Roxys over there, but we worked with them from about 2. They had 2 at the time, rolled them out to 8 now, got them some private equity money for the next stage of rollout. So we do that. So effectively trying to work with growing businesses to strategize with them and provide the funding, be it debt or equity, to do so. And then around that, it's for individual owners. So it's everything from your tax to your pensions to your stock brokering to your SIPs, your SASs, your mortgage. We have a mortgage team. So we literally look after everything and everyone effectively in business.
So you're kind of a modern day accountancy firm, if you like, you know, looking after these lifestyle brands, moving with the times in terms of influencers now, which is massive, and the kind of the way celebrity is as well. You are a modern day accountancy firm. We think of accountants, don't we? And we see a guy in a suit and it's all a bit stuffy. It's not like that with what you do.
No, it's funny you just said influencers, because I think we're an influencer brand within our client base. We do a lot in sport and TV, so we have a lot of individual influencers as well. And we try and create this ecosystem where we put all our clients together. And if we have a celebrity or a sports star from London and they come up to Liverpool, we'll make sure we get them in one of our restaurants in Liverpool, for example. And you know, so we it's funny you mentioned that influencer style. We actually do leverage the influencers within our ecosystem, i.e. our clients, for the betterment really of all our clients at all our client base. So yeah, you're right.
So there's lots of them in Liverpool, mate, as I'm sure you're aware. You're moving, you're expanding. You've got a base in Liverpool, which is launching very soon. It looks really cool. Tell us why you chose the city of Liverpool.
So first of all, you can obviously tell by my Manc accent, I'm not from Liverpool. I'm not from the area. I'm from Manchester, obviously. But we did Manchester, and then we did Leeds, and we did London after that. But I always wanted to do Manchester, Leeds, and Liverpool, always. I love all 3 cities. I think I don't get the competition with across the 3 northern cities, if you like. And I honestly believe there should be collaboration and not competition. So I always wanted to do Liverpool. I think all the cities are 90% the same, and then they've all got 10% of their own their own edge or their own differences there. And I like that. So I always wanted to do the 3. There's not an advisory firm, independent, the size of ours, that operates in all 3. And I don't really know why, but so I wanted to be the first. And I do want to bring that collaboration. You know, if we've got clients, it's funny because we have a lot of independents as they started out that became chains in Manchester. And it's quite common for them to start in maybe Manchester and then move into Leeds and then move into Liverpool or whatever. But I wonder how many have moved from Liverpool the other way into Manchester, Leeds, Birmingham. I think Mowgli started out, so that's one of yours. Ghetto Golf's another one. But there aren't that many, and I just think it needs to be more collaborative across the north rather than competitive. So I love the city, love its quirks, and yeah, we've just signed 8,500 square foot. We have a rooftop terrace, Victorian rooftop terrace that we're putting in. We've got a restaurant. We serve breakfast all morning, drinks all day, and afternoon tea. Afternoon, it's all free, by the way, in our office. So I say it's an office. It's a leisure space, really. So it is going to look pretty much, it's based on the Ivy, the one we're doing in Liverpool. We have a New York bar in Manchester, and we have a Great Gatsby bar in Leeds, reggae rooftop bar in Manchester. This one's going to be the Ivy at Liverpool. So it's going to be, we've got an American diner going in, number of meeting rooms. Yeah, it's a really different space that people want to use for the board meetings, for creative marketing, that kind of thing, but more to create this ecosystem of collaboration.
Do you know what? Liverpool needs something like this, because I think this is the kind of modern way of thinking now in terms of work and that working environment. And to see this come and start growing in the city is going to be incredible. I think it'll be the first of many kind of workplaces like this, Paul. You were talking then about Liverpool and Manchester and Leeds and stuff. There's so many places up here in the north that have got no desire at all now to go to London. It really has shifted in that respect, hasn't it?
It has shifted. And it's funny because if you take the Roxy deal, and this is all obviously public, you know, if you look at where they're going, they're focusing on the north. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think sometimes, staying in your own pockets of the north, I think it can be a mistake. But I think sticking to the north sometimes isn't a mistake. There's a lot of money in London. So a lot of people want to get 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 in London who live and know London, and then raise the money in London to go and conquer the north. And the best way for them to conquer the north is just acquire. So if somebody wanted to sell in 3 or 4 years, it actually wouldn't be a bad thing, if you ask me, to stick to the north, stick to the kind of cities that you know, and be that angle for somebody from London to just effectively take that territory with an acquisition. So that wouldn't be a bad strategy. Although we have got clients who are looking even at Essex, you know, like that area, to put a bar or restaurant, or, you know, they kind of combine nowadays, bars and restaurants, don't they? The same thing. But so we're looking at Essex for a few of ours, and London as well. But I don't sometimes think it's not a bad strategy to think broader than the city you're in, for sure, but kind of create that niche in the north. That means London, where there's obviously a lot of money. And allow them that direct access to just get straight into it, to our territory, if you like.
Paul, you wrote a book, great book. You released it last year, Taking Care of Business. Tons of advice on there, and kind of your journey, your story as well. Someone watching right now who maybe, you know, started a new business before all this happened, the pandemic, a little bit worried about what's going on. What's the main bit of advice you would give someone watching right now, to a young entrepreneur, say?
So the first piece of advice is, so I have a podcast, and that's why I wrote the book. And what the most common thing that I get in the podcast is, everybody, when they're being interviewed about an hour of their life story, if you like, they always try and find the darkest hour. Every single time, they always try and find, I was here and I was there. And I'm the same. If somebody says to me, tell me about your story, I go, well, I was from a broken home, from a council estate, and I'm here. This is going to be most people's lowest ebb. So whilst you're down, and a lot of people are down, don't beat yourself up too much about this. The first piece of advice from a personal perspective. This will actually be your main, in lockdown, this happened. And in 3 years' time, it will be your journey from now to where you end up. That will be your talking point. And without those doubts, you don't have a talking point. Because if somebody comes on to my podcast and says, well, you know, I'm quite well to do, my dad gave me a load of money, I made some more money, it's not a story. You have to have the setbacks and the resilience, and show that resilience to create a story in itself. So even if you're going through it from a personal perspective now, learn lessons from it. Don't get too down about it, because there are, I think, lucrative times ahead. So that's the personal side. On a financial side, you have got to get acquainted with the help that's out there. We all know of the furlough scheme, because it's all Rishi bangs on about. And there's downfalls to that, by the way. But there are grants that if you don't apply for them, you won't get. And sometimes now it's become very fragmented, the grant offering, because it's changed with tiers and lockdown. So there's more than one grant you might be able to get. So that's one thing. Also, the grants are per property, and we've got some clients who are just getting one through one property rather than each property. So if you've got multiple property, make sure you're getting multiple grants. Your 6 months mortgage thing is still in existence. So from a personal perspective, you can still delay your 6 months. So do that. Bounce back loans, pretty easy to come by. CBIL, if you've got a bounce back loan and it wasn't enough at 50 grand, you can get a CBIL loan now for 100 grand, for example, and pay off your bounce back loan and give yourself that extra headroom. So if you originally just got your bounce back loan up to 50 grand and it's now not seeing you through, Get out there. There's now about 150 lenders on Sedulo. When we started, there was 5. So there's a lot more money flowing through that Sedulo scheme now, and it's open till the end of April. So get out there, and if you don't get it from your bank, don't worry about that. Go to one of the other lenders, that like a Metro Bank or a Funding Circle, got a peer-to-peer lender, people who are not as rigid as your bank in giving it you. Go to them. And if you've got a bounce back loan, you might think, well, I can't go now because I've got a bounce back loan. You can just, but you've got to pay your bounce back loan and part of a
So you
loan.
can get, sorry, I didn't know this. So I've got a bounce back loan. So I can get another loan on top of that from another bank or building society or whatever.
Yeah. Yes. So say you wanted 50 grand, you'd have to go and get an additional 50. You'd go and get 100 grand Sedulo and pay off your 50 grand bounce back loan, because you can't have both.
Right.
You can have a Sedulo to help pay off your bounce back and give you extra cash. You can get more than one Sedulo loan. So we've got clients that have got 2 or 3 Sedulo loans. Some people think you can only get one. You can't. So I would say this, but make sure you have got an advisor so that you can bounce this kind of information off, because it's changing weekly and you need that level of interaction. So if you're not speaking to your accountant every few weeks, you need to reintegrate and with that relationship, or you need to find another one, if you ask me, because there's lots of moving goalposts for you as a business owner every week. And the other thing I'll say is research and development grants. In the industry of bars and restaurants, you can get categorically, most bars and restaurants are a different variation and are unique. Nearly all of them are unique. So that uniqueness has been researched as a result of a research and development. That might be cocktails. Probably your menu is completely different than anybody else's menu. It might be a twist on something, but that twist is the development of your menu. So R&D grants, tax rebates are available in the leisure industry. And that's a fact, because we've got them. So make sure that you're looking at them, because that is free cash from HMRC back into your bank account. And you get 2 years on your first one. So your first one can be quite lucrative. So if you're in the industry as a restaurant or a bar, or you're in the leisure industry in general, you should be having a look at, first of all, your advisor accountant, but you've got to make sure they know what they're doing. If they don't, seek somebody out who does, because some accountants don't know R&D that well. So we'll just say, I don't think you qualify. When I'm categorically telling you, if you are unique and you've employed barmen, head waiters, waitresses, chefs, and they're working on unique propositions for your facility, that counts for R&D, and it's quite lucrative money back. And HMRC are encouraging you to do that at the moment, by the way. It's a means of them getting money back into the industry.
Okay. Where can we find out about that? Does that need to be through an accountant? Can a business owner do that themselves?
I mean, you can search out research and development on gov.uk and on HMRC's site. And there's lots of R&D specialists out there. And then of course you'd like to think that your accountant is your first port of call, if I'm honest with you. But the way they tend to do it as well in that industry is they only charge you on success. So you're not going to go to your accountant and get £1,000 bill and nothing comes of it. 99% of the times they will assess your business, see if you qualify for it, and they charge you a percentage of your saving. So you've got nothing to lose.
Well, listen, fantastic advice. Loads more as well within this book in terms of your personal story and your kind of, pushing through these darker times like you have done. You've got a great story, but in terms of mental health and that personal journey, what would you say to people?
In terms of mental health, I think one of the things is and as you know, I've wrote about in the book, and I'm quite happy to speak to anybody about it, because I'm somebody I'm 42 now, and I set my business at like 28, and I had no mental health issues until I did that. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I actually have suffered from really bad anxiety and panic attacks. So that's my background. But I've learned to cope with it, because first of all, I learned to accept it, and then I researched it. And then I found that there's lots of day-to-day things that you can do to manage your mood, your metabolism, your chemical reactions that are sometimes going on that force you to be anxious, depressed, or suffering from mental health. So look after yourself is the first thing to say. Look after yourself. do your research, and do the simple things. If you're not hydrated, you won't sleep as well. If you don't sleep very well, you're not going to have a great mental, you're not going to wake up in the right headspace. You know, if you eat, you have too much alcohol, it's really going to play with you. If you have too much caffeine, it's going to play with your mental health and your sleep. If you have a bad diet of sugars, you're going to have crashes in moods. And by the way, we're in a tough time. So accept we're in a tough time, and try and approach as much discipline as you can with yourself in order to get through it. I've got through it for like 13, 14 years, and I've done it off those practical but simple that everybody knows, but sometimes you just forget about, or you lose the self-will and desire and discipline. The other thing is, if you really struggle, try some meditation on Google. I do, if I'm really starting to feel edgy, I do like 20 minutes meditation, like a guided meditation for stress, or guided meditation to help me sleep better. So whatever it is your issue, if you go onto YouTube, you'll have those kind of self-help 15 or 20 minutes and speak about it. Because just getting it off your chest is, getting it off the chest always helps me talking about it always helps. So get it off your chest, do your own research, try and do all the simple things to make your body, go for your walks, go for your run if you can run, do some exercise and get your endorphins in. Endorphins will lower your cortisol levels, your stress hormone level, and will reduce stress. And that's a fact. So they would be my like basics. And then if you need help beyond that, then you go and seek help, of course. But I think most people can live a balanced lifestyle, because I still like a drink and I still like a coffee, but I know when to have a drink and when not to. Do you know what I mean? So that would be my my kind of 2 or 3 minute tips on mental health.
But I presume as well, it's kind of realizing and recognizing, isn't it, that if you do have a drink on a Saturday or Friday, Saturday, whatever, it's knowing on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're going to feel like crap and you're going to feel down because of that. And I think sometimes it's easy to kind of blare that in your mind, isn't it? And you told a great story on stage at the Liverpool Awards about someone who didn't understand why they were so fed up and feeling down. But you pointed out that maybe it was down to the really bad diet that they were currently having.
Well, do you know what we actually do in the main as humans? What we do is we get down and then we have a drink. Or we get down and then we have a drink. We wake up in the morning tired, so we have a coffee. And then what will happen is we'll have an 11 o'clock crash. So we'll have some sugars in our diet early doors. And then we'll crash again at 1. And we're just not very good at accepting, actually, I'm starting to struggle. That's the first part. I'm actually starting to struggle. Then you've got to go, okay, realistically, what is my alcohol, my coffee, and all those, my water intake in a day? And you've got to get all that right to get your chemicals right first. Then if you still can't overcome it, then you know it's worse. But you've got to give yourself a fighting chance. And you can't say, I suffer from stress and anxiety, and then be having a coffee at 8 o'clock at night, which means it stays in your system for 5 hours. So you're not going to have a good sleep. And then you're just in that cycle. So I think we've been conditioned as a society to think, sod it, I'm not feeling very good today, so let's have a bottle of wine on a Tuesday with, or a few beers, and it actually just accelerates those feelings that you've already got that you might be fighting.
Listen, mate, really interesting. I could literally chat to you all day. Sedulo is launching in Liverpool. Well, what's the first thing that you do as a business owner that's expanding to a new city? How do you start? Have you got clients already in the city of Liverpool? How does that process begin? What's the first thing you'll do when you're sat at your desk at your Liverpool base?
Yeah, so the first thing is I find a space that I love in the city. So it's exchange flags with a rooftop. So that was the first thing that I did. And pre that, I got to know the city, because I've been in the city for 2 years, once a week, just drinking in the bars, eating in the restaurants, walking to the Baltic Triangle, and just getting a mood. It's weird, but I do a lot of things on energy and mood. So that was the first part. That's like minus 2 years ago. Then I found the space, and then we're in the lease. Then it's, how can I make something fantastic? How can we be one of the top 3 facilities in Liverpool when we open in May? So that was the next part. So then I've got my design done, and that's all on with at the moment. Then it is, how do I get clients that are influencer clients? So I look at your best restaurants, your best bars that people go in. I look at your sports individuals. So we already act for quite a few of your sports clients over in Liverpool. We act for a few sports clubs. over there. Some of your Super League clubs on the periphery of Merseyside, we act for them. So I start to gather some influencer clients. And then there'll be a massive launch in May. There'll be like 3 days, I'll get some of my clients in. I think, and there'll be DJing on the rooftop, and we'll just create a huge noise. And that's the fun part. But in the back end, we've got to do a great job. We've got to try and bring this collaboration and bring something new, not just from a personable approach, but open doors, if you like, or help people on the journey in a way we've helped Roxy, which is in the public eye. So that's why I keep referring back to that. But that's what we do with all our clients. So that's kind of the first 6 months. So May and June, you'll hear a lot about us.
Okay, well, listen, mate, we can't wait to get in, see this incredible space that you're preparing for now in Exchange Flags. Paul Cheetham, get onto that book as well, Taking Care of Business. Where can we find out more about Sedulo, Paul?
Yeah, come onto the website, sedulo.co.uk. We're pretty active on all the social channels. We're pretty active on Insta, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all the ones you'd expect. But yeah, and then we have the podcast, Taking Care of Business, the book, Taking Care of Business. So yeah, we're pretty active from a marketing perspective.
Oh, you don't stop. You literally don't stop. But just keep doing what you're doing, mate, because you are a really inspiring character, and we look forward to seeing you again. Paul Cheetham from Sedulo. Thank you.
Great to speak to you, mate. Thanks for having me on.